ॐ भद्रं कर्णैभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us now pray together. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord who is the origin of the universe. Lord, Thou abidest in all, Thou art all, Thou assumest all forms. Thou art the origin and goal of all, Thou art the self of all, Thou art existence, knowledge and bliss. Salutations unto Thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So friends, let us begin from where we stopped during the last lecture on this, that is past Sunday, that the three-body package number 2. So there were, as it were, two packages. One that was delivered last Sunday. But let us, just for proper coordination, quickly see what we actually have discussed on last Sunday. That it is the truth is that everything is Brahman. The self that we feel is Brahman. There is nothing apart from self. Just let us try to fathom that idea. Let us try to feel that idea that there is the Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss, and that is one without second. There is no multiplicity. There is no particularized perception at all there. It is, we shall see at the end, again we will come to this. This awareness, as it gets lost, there is this awareness of I. Very unspecified awareness, but there is the awareness, I am. It is, and then automatically the world is. It is still completely unspecified. There is no where I am. This time and space is still not available there. And so this distinction is quite, imperceptible. And thus, but it is there. See, when we perceive with mind and body, then we say that it was perceptible because we look through an instrument. But at this stage, that instrument is not there. It is yet to be manufactured to, to draw the lines where I am, how the world is, how we are connected. So, this I has unspecified desire. There is, and this desire is the expression of lost unity. The oneness, as it were, is lost, and therefore, as it were, to regain that oneness, there is the desire, there is the awareness of imperfection. And this becomes the launching pad. This is called what is the causal body, the first layer of body. Then we have to fulfill these desires. The desire gets then specified and worked on the outer world through the machine. This machine is the remaining two bodies, the subtle body and the gross body, and we also saw that these two are kind of connected, as subtle body is the software, gross body is the hardware. These days, because these terms are known to most people, I don't know if everybody understands them fully or not, but when we use the things, we feel that we understand what it means. So, this is the subtle body is the comparable to software, gross body to hardware, and thus we can understand their functions. So, now we shall come to see that it is how all these three bodies they are working, the connections between these, and how by transcendence of them we realize our true nature, our true self. And as I mentioned last time, that we will take help of Mandukya Upanishad to understand these. Mandukya Upanishad is one of the important treatises of the non-dual Vedanta, and it in a very sweeping manner it brings out how the divisions are. It is probably the shortest of the Upanishads, at least amongst the main Upanishads, main 10 Upanishads. This is the shortest one, and only 12 verses. And in these 12 verses, it has covered in a dramatic way the whole course of spiritual journey. It is fascinating to see that how the self gets this kind of divided appearance. Although one, it appears divided. Although one, it still is running after something without really any change. In ignorance, we see so many things happening there. And this is described by the first, actually the second verse, that all this is Brahman. For truly everything is Brahman, and this self is also Brahman. Brahman is the one word for the existence absolute, consciousness absolute, bliss absolute, the oneness absolute. That is described in this one word, Brahman, which in Sanskrit, what it means is that which is infinitely expanded. That root, br, means to expand. And so, that which has occupied everything, nothing is apart from it, that idea is expressed in this word, Brahman. That which is everything. In fact, there is no everything as separate there. It is the transcendent oneness which envelops everything and yet is beyond everything. So, that Brahman is our true nature. And yet, we tell, well, I am this, I am giving a lecture, or tomorrow I will be going to some other place, I will be going to California tomorrow. There, what do we express? I as, not as Brahman, but as something else. When I say that, well, I love to eat pizza, then I am not meaning Brahman by I, obviously, that I mean something else. And then what do I mean by that? And then this is here, we spoke about it in answer to one question after the last class, that there is in the Vedantic idea the two things that individual as well as cosmic, they are presented kind of as a whole. You can restrict your universe, you can expand your universe. There are these two words, Vyashti and Samashti. Vyashti means what you consider as individual. That is not necessarily individual for everyone or for in all contexts. For example, each of us is free to consider that I, as Charles, is an individual. But then we know that in Charles, this body, there are zillions of microbes, and each of them is again saying that, well, I am an individual. So what do you consider as individual just depends. It is how we see the conglomerate as an entity. For example, although we are many here, as congregation it becomes one. Although there are many, we say our congregation, then that becomes singular. So it is, and that when we speak of congregation, the chapel, the other things like library and all, it becomes Vedanta society, a single entity, although it comprises of so many other individuals. So where do we want to restrict it? We don't. It depends on you. So if you don't want to restrict it at all, that is the cosmic individuality, samashti, cosmic individuality. And then the body is on individual level as well as cosmic level. The causal body is also at both levels, the individual level and cosmic level. The ignorance at individual level and ignorance at cosmic level. So now you see that the self about, although it is like this, the ignorance intervenes. And then we now have this idea that I am sitting in the Vedanta Society class and I am listening to a lecture. I am here. Now there are all the three bodies at work. We shall see which are they. The third verse here says that this self which is four quarters, which has four aspects. The three are these three bodies, and fourth is the reality which runs in and through all the changing bodies without any change. So this is the third verse mentions here that the first quarter of this is Vaishwanara. This is, or the material condition with the waking state for his field, outwardly cognitive, seven-limbed, 19-mouthed, and enjoying gross objects. That is the gross body, the first aspect of it. That is, if you are awake, some of you might be falling asleep, but suppose taking for granted that you are awake, then what is functioning there? Let us again revert back to the example that I had given in the previous lecture on this. Suppose you have an electric fan running, you see it running. So what are the things functioning there? The blades are running, the motor inside that is running, and there is the electricity that is there. If there is power outage, it won't run. So the power is there, the motor is running by that power, and the fan blades which are connected to that, they are running too. So from outside only the outer body of the fan is visible, nothing else is visible. So these three things are functional here when we are sitting and awake here. And of course, the absolute on which this all is appearing, that also is present. So all the four aspects really are functional. Since here our topic is three bodies, we will say all the three bodies are working here. The causal body, the subtle body, and the gross body. All three are functional when we are in the state of waking. And then of this, the gross body, it takes the gross objects. Like it enjoys the gross objects, means, for example, it sits on the gross physical chair. It doesn't sit on this subtle chair. It is that it may subtly may be thinking that I will be offered a chair at the Department of Mathematics. That is a subtle chair. You don't go and sit there, you say. So it is. So that is the gross body sits on a gross chair. It eats gross food. Say, let me go and take pizza and whatever. So eat it. Let me have a soup and so forth. So it is the gross food that it takes. It takes the gross objects, as means we are eating actually by eyes, we are taking in the form. That also is food, that is the gross sight is consumed in by the gross senses. The ears, they are having the sound, the gross sound that is coming, that we take it in when we are awake. So, waking state is the field of activity for this gross body. But we have to remember here that gross body alone doesn't function, just as only the blades of the fan do not move. So, these our sense organs, motor organs, they have their gross manifestations, but they do not on their own do much. There is the backing of the motor, which is we have associated with the subtle body. So that subtle body is functioning, the software is functioning, because of which this hardware seems to work. The other day, my printer was not working. I said, I called our friend Jitendra that what is this, the printer is not working. And then, what was the problem? Nothing wrong with the printer per se. So, there was some problem with the software actually. He didn't touch the printer at all. He changed certain settings and then the printer started working. So, this is what is done here. The change was not done to the body. It is, but the body is functioning because of something else that is making it function. So our eyes are seeing, not because the eyes are wonderful. It is, there is something else that is making it work like eyes. So this gross body, it says, has 7 limbs. 7 limbs. It is described as 7 parts of this gross body. Again, at every level you can think about it. It is like the 7 are the head. Then the eyes, which represent all the sensory organs. Then the breath, the instrument of taking breath, the lungs and all that. Then the other part of the body, the belly and all this, the chest. So, and the lower organ and the feet. So these are the 7 organs. The feet represent the organs of action. It is, so all these, the eyes represent the sensory organs, the feet represent the motor organs. But remember, these are the outer expressions, the gross expressions of these organs. Now we will come to what is called the subtle body. Subtle body is swapnasthanam antaprajnah. The second quarter is the Tejas. Tejas means it is full of splendor, splendorous. It is not dark like gross body, it is splendorous. So it is, this is again, it has 7 limbs and 19 mouths. Earlier that gross body also was told to have 19 mouths. The description of 19 mouths is very interesting. 19 ways in which the world is being taken in, all the 19 instruments by which we are taking in the world. Mouth means that, mouth is the entry. There are 19 kind of instruments through which this entry is happening. And they are the 5 sensory organs, 5 motor organs, and then the 5 different types of 5 energies which are making this work, and the 4 aspects of our internal instrument. Although these are actually subtle body, yet they have their gross counterparts working through the gross body. So these 19 mouths, through this the gross world is being enjoyed by the gross body, and subtle world is enjoyed through the subtle body. Now remember here that for the functioning of the fan as a whole, you need all these 3: electricity, the motor, and the body of the fan. But the motor can run on its own just with electricity. It doesn't need the fan blades to be attached to it. You remove the fan blades, and still, because as it is powered, you will see the motor moving. Also, one more thing happens when you dissociate it from the fan. Now, the tremendous versatility of motor becomes available to you. Otherwise, the motor is doing only one function. But motor has several other functions that it can perform. So, if you see it apart from the fan, now those functions become available to us. And that is the subtle body which has its field as the world of dreams. In the dreams, our potential gets tremendously enhanced. Many perceptions that we cannot have in the waking state, we can have them in dream. There is much more variety, much enhanced finesse in the perception of dreams, because now it is no more encumbered to function through this limited gross body. Just as the motor, when dissociated from the body of the fan, now its enhanced potential is available there. You can make use of it in any way. I feel amazed, that how in dream they traveling through space and time in various ways becomes so easy. Traveling backward, forward in time is not a difficulty in dream. In also our understanding of languages becomes so much enhanced. We understand language of dogs, cats, everybody, In when we are in waking state, the northerner will not understand southerner. In the same English language, we will find it difficult. Oh, what that fellow was saying to me, I didn't get a single word. And the southerner will say, this Rhode Island, what they speak of, they call it English. Okay, so it is, even in the same language, we will not be able to understand each other at the gross level. But when it comes to the dream, you can see, you can understand all the animals, even the plants. There is no language problem because you have entered. This is what Kristan had asked last time, has it got connection with the four different languages or four different ways in which the speech functions? Yes. Here, the speech also assumes this subtle and therefore more pervasive, more powerful, and more versatile form, that you can communicate much better. It is when you convert it into gross language, then it becomes, much restricted. The capabilities, because there are only so many words. How many words can you have? Maybe max a million. Not really, but if you stretch and include all the languages that the teenagers use, still it will not be that much, It is, but the number of feelings that we get far more transcends the number of words available. So this is a different layer or different level of language which has to be there for the gross language to function. But the subtle language that you can see in the subtle body and that you can perceive in the separately at dream, that is also having the same structure. Same structure means it also has the 7 dream limbs, not the gross limbs, but 7 dream limbs. Also 19 mouths by which to eat. And this subtle body is again then powered by the causal body. This causal body, where that is the description comes in the 5th verse, that you perceive it in deep sleep, when one who is asleep feels no desires. The word is important, feels. Not that there are no desires. One feels no desires, sees no dreams. That is deep sleep. It is called prajna. Having this state of deep sleep for its field, with experience all unified, with cognition reduced to a mere indefinite mass, full of bliss, enjoying bliss, and forming the gateway to all definite cognition. A beautiful description, very succinct, and yet you can say that this state of deep sleep, where you can, this is analogy for the causal body, that there is no specified perception at all, dreamless sleep. It is, for example, while listening to this lecture, if you go into a dream, then you can think of the football match today and all that, it is. But, and while you can dream the football match and your favorite team winning and so forth, it is, yet when you step a little bit beyond and fall in the deep sleep, then there is no football team, there is nothing else. You are not seeing anything, you are not perceiving anything. And yet, there is all the instruments of this perceiving, the desire, the propensities are all as it were congealed, like the whole tree with all its program congealed in a seed. Do you see this? That in a seed, all the branches of the tree are there. In the seed, the leaves, the flowers, the fruits, all are there. But even if you see with the best of microscopes, you will not be able to distinguish that in the seed. But it is all there. The propensity is there. What is this is a very beautiful word in English language. Really, there is not exactly proper Sanskrit word to connote this exactly same idea. It is used here chetomukh, that it is as it were, pulsating, vibrating to come out. It is restricted because of this situation, but it wants to break it out. That is the seed, seed wants, looking for congenial environment to sprout, to burst open, to become a tree. That all its hidden potential, as it were, is trying to burst out and to come out. This is the this causal body, where all this is hidden, all these tendencies are there. They have the propensity, the desire to manifest, to come out, to enjoy. And so it gets connected after the sleep is over, and it gets over. It is, then it gets connected to the subtle and the gross body, and then starts functioning. It is like this, that suppose there is just electricity, then that electricity cannot be perceived, cannot be, whether it is or it is not, that also you cannot say till it passes through some appliance, a light bulb or a fan or this sound system, or you touch it, the live wire. Don't do that, but it is then whether it is or it is not gets manifested. Till then, whether it is or it is not manifested. So it is whether how much voltage it is, how much is the current, you will not be able to know unless you run it through an appliance. And that appliance, is gross, is not electricity. Like you run it through a meter, avometer, and then it tells you, this has gone this much, so it is only 5 volts or only 25 volts, and so forth. So you run it through that, and then you know. Similarly, this causal body, as causal body, is again far more versatile, far more powerful than the gross body and the subtle body. As you go deeper, Shankaracharya in his Kathopanishad commentary has described these things very beautifully, that as you go deeper, the things become more versatile, more powerful, more pervasive. Like the motor is far more versatile than the fan. The motor has far more, power that only the fan can express. The motor is far more useful. It is deeper, subtler, and far more pervasive. And electricity is far more pervasive than motor. It can be used to do many, many functions. So its pervasiveness becomes manifold. So similarly, from gross body as you come to subtle body, it becomes very much more pervasive. From subtle body as you come to causal body, it becomes much more pervasive, much more powerful. Um, and it is its versatility is immense there. So this is described as the causal body. Now the purpose of all this description is to transcend these bodies. The understanding of these bodies is to see that they are separate, removable, like our gross body is like a plug and play apparatus, you fit, take out, then another appliance you plug in, that starts working. It is like that, you see. So to this subtle body, when you put this gross body on it, then it functions through the limitations of this gross body. This gross body is subject to death and decay, like our hardware is subject to, by time it gets eroded, it becomes sluggish, and so forth. So you buy a new machine, but you do not throw away your work. The same old work that you had done, you don't want to lose it. So Paul bought new machine and then put all that he had, that all he thought would need from the old machine, transferred it to the new machine. And he took care that everything that is important is transferred. So also, when this gross body becomes rather too old, sluggish, doesn't function properly, has developed many glitches, and requires too much of maintenance, and is unreliable, then you change it for a better body. You see that new machines are available in the market, and then you discard this and get a new one and load all the old software onto the new gross body. That is technically, that is called rebirth. It is you wipe through this gross body, it is no use, and then get a new body. And what gets transferred in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it describes very nicely. Let me read just quickly. Okay, got it. ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मम मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयात्. Verily, a part of myself. Let us not forget that this is all actually, in truth, is the all-pervading self. That, as it were, an aspect of it, a part of it, gets manifested, becomes this eternal embodied soul, draws to this world of beings, this senses with the mind as the sixth sense, which rest in nature, When the master soul acquires a body, he takes all these six from the one he leaves, even as the breeze carries breeze carries odors from their seats and attain like this the new body. That all these sensory motor organs, everything in the subtle body, that is carried from the gross body and put in the new gross body there. In the 9th verse it describes that Shrotram Chakshus Parshanam Cha Rasanam Ghranameva Cha Adhishthaya Manaschayam Vishayanupasevate Utkramantam Sthitam Vapi Bhunjanam Va Gunanvitam Vimudha Nanupashyante Pashyanti Jnana Chakshusha. Presiding over the ears, the eyes, the organs of touch, taste and smell, and also the mind. This being enjoys the sense objects. The deluded do not see this departing from one body or residing in it or experiencing the objects being associated with the senses, but they who have the eyes of knowledge see him. Because this question comes, yes, the last time after the lecture, one devotee asked me, what is the proof of this? What is the proof of this? And then they hear this, Lord has anticipated probably the similar question, what is the proof? So he says there, and I had to answer, how can I answer better than Lord? So it is, I said, well, do you see that? Do you have any proof that right now it is there? Well, just I see it, I experience it, I don't need any proof. Then why do you need proof? The question of proof is very funny. The gross cannot demand a proof from subtle because it doesn't have the capability to see it. It is like asking, that, well, I don't see any microbes in yogurt, so I won't believe that they are there. So Lord says, if you don't have that vision, you will not see how it goes from one body or how it is staying in one body and how it goes from one body and goes to the other body. You will not be able to see it unless you develop that vision. It is, then you will be able to see. Just as you can see the microbes when you put new vision to your eyes, and look at the yogurt, and then you will see with that microscope all the little things in the yogurt. So it is like that, friends. So that is how the new bodies are taken up. I don't want to get into that topic much. It is certainly a very fascinating one, but we don't have time. The point is, when we understand the separability, detachment between the three bodies, that is how we have this package, and we learn to open it and see its functioning, then we learn that the self is none of these. These are instruments. See, this is a big and most important step, I would say, in spiritual life, that I am not this body, nor the mind. They are instruments that I use. I am separate from them, and yet they are because of me. Because I am there, they are there. I am the master. And thus we learn to transcend these physical and mental limitations and thus become free. We realize our true, infinite, ever blissful, ever perfect nature. I am Brahman. We will be able to say then in the same voice with the great sages that I am that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am that. So this is the purpose of studying this. We don't have much time, but if you have a question or two, we can discuss. Yes, Shravani?
In a conversation between Sri Ramakrishna and M, we see that Sri Ramakrishna tells him that the spiritual practice, a special body will do. He calls it the body of love or prema, and it has different wings.
Yeah.
Where does it come in?
Well, that is certainly the question refers to a conversation. It is a very uh, sublime conversation. That part, if you read it, you will see that how the whole thing becomes, or he takes it to a different level of understanding. That when you do spiritual practice, and what is this doing spiritual practice? Many things that we do as spiritual practice, they all have the one goal, and that is to feel that oneness. And that feeling of oneness is expressed as love. So he says all organs now lose their desires and they become full of love. See, it is not gross body or subtle body. It is a transformation when this, because of the spiritual practice, you get connected to the one. Then, whether it is gross body or subtle body, they both are now transformed as not the expression of desire, but the expression of opposite of that, love. Love is opposite of desire. When there is desire, there is demand, I want. When love, it is a feeling of oneness, no demands in love. So it is, that is what happens. It has nothing to do with gross body or subtle body or causal body. No, it is transformation of the whole perception there. Yes?
You had mentioned that term Chaitanya. I had asked you that question before. It's a very complicated word, I gather. The way that you described it sounds a lot like the Shabda that you spoke of. Is it an entity or so?
Is it what?
An entity, Chaitanya.
Entity?
An entity. Is it an isolated?
No, it is not an isolated entity. It is describing its that quality or that nature, that it is full of that propensity or potential to come out. That consciousness wants to get manifested through all the pores. Like if you say run the shower, when the shower knob is off, then the water is not coming out of it. But it is as it were ready to spring out. As soon as so, that state of readiness, that state of about to jump, like those sprinters, they are waiting for the final whistle. Whoo, 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 and then they jump. But before that, they are ready there, that it is. So that is called that chetomukha, propensity to burst out. it is the manifestation, it is in the causal body. Because causal body doesn't have an expression, so that word is used for description of causal body alone. Uh, that, yeah. Uh, Ananda Bhuk Cheto Mukha. Yes, Carol?
Is it correct to say that the nature and being of Brahman is love?
Yes. Nature and being of Brahman, one way of describing is love. Yeah, correct. Yes? Yes, I'll declare. Huh?
When I dream, I feel so powerless. Should I appreciate that freedom, or how can I develop more control of what I dream?
Ha! That is a very beautiful idea. In dream, you feel so powerless because in dream you are feeling the truth more closely. That you are really powerless. Here in the waking state, you feel you are powerful. What power do you have really? You are being kicked around by all the nature, all the things. I wanted to go out yesterday evening, but snow, it prevents my going. In gross body also that powerlessness is there, but in gross body, the ignorance is there, much more grossified, and therefore we do not feel the powerlessness of it. So we think in ignorance that we can do this and we can do that, and we do the plans and this and that, and then suddenly you say bye bye without any, notice. The fellow is gone. It is all the plans just remain there. Nothing happens. That is how Sri Ramakrishna gave the example. This man was coming down from the stairs and was talking to friend very agitatedly that he doesn't believe in God, he is atheist, and slips a step, falls down, gone. So it is, we are powerless even now. What power do we have? Nothing. But still, we are ignorant of that also. In the dream, we feel so powerless and still so powerful too. It is both there. That therefore, in dreams, the desires also are much sharper. The understanding of capabilities is also much sharper, and also the understanding of the obstacles, the whole thing, that also becomes sharper. And therefore one feels powerless at one stage in dream. That's correct, yeah. Yes, Charles?
I'm just wondering if the cosmic individual is the same thing as Ishvara?
The cosmic individual at the causal body state is called Ishvara. In the state of the subtle body, it is called the Taijasa. And at this level of gross body, it is called Prajna. Prajna means, that is how this word is so beautiful. Prajna in that context, it means, if you decipher that word, grammatically it gets two meanings. That it is prakarshena ajnaha, means terribly ignorant. And yet it also has the meaning that one who is wise and genius, prajna. It is why? Because there is a rule of grammar that says that the a must come there with the same meaning. So it is, both these meanings are there. So in the waking state, we have lot of varieties of ignorance that we keep on calling as knowledge. The ignorance get variegated in waking state, functions through so many sensory organs and head and all that in the through the brain, and then we say we know. It is what we know is the actually the variety of ignorance, and so that state is called prajna.